Teaching English Radio India.
A radio series for teachers of English.
Brought to you by the British Council.
Hello, I am Manisha Dak and welcome again to another program in the series Teaching English Radio India. As usual, we'll be hearing the opinions and ideas of teachers from all over India who have to work with limited resources. Our subject today is Shh. Pay attention. Everybody quiet. Our subject is teaching listening. And here are some of the teachers we'll be hearing from today.
I am Shahira from Guwahati.
I am Ashok, Navi Mumbai in Thane district.
My name is Deena. I'm from Madikeri in Karnataka.
I'm Altaf from Raichur in Karnataka.
I'm Mala from Rajkot in Gujarat.
And what these teachers tell us is that teaching listening is very important. Do you agree?
It is essential for a child to listen properly. This listening skill.
Listening is one of the 4 important skills that need to be developed in learners of a language.
I've been looking into some statistics which reveal that we spend about 50% of our time listening, much more than reading, writing, or speaking. Most of our classes revolve around reading and writing, and we seem to neglect listening. So as teachers of English, how can we help our students? What listening materials should we provide? And what activities can we do to improve our students' ability to listen? The answer depends very much on our students' ages and levels of English, what interests them and what resources are available. The first important point is that we must give students as much opportunity as possible to listen to English. We should give instructions in English and communicate with our students in English from the start of each class. As Shahira explains,
The teacher has first, when they start the class, they should do something very interesting. It may be a little real-life incident or a small story about the lesson they are going to teach so that they get an attention of the student. And whenever they find that the students are not attentive, then they should always ask them questions or get feedback from the students.
Engage with them every chance you can in English. I always ask students questions. How was your lunch? What did you do yesterday? Sometimes this can be a general chat about how you have spent the weekend.
Good morning, students.
Good morning, ma'am.
Can we start the class now?
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Have you tried this? Listen to this teacher with her students in Delhi.
let's start with the weekend. So, can anyone tell me what interesting thing you have done on last weekend? Yes.
I watched TV so much and played Ludo.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to community. I'm informed to come.
To improve their listening skill, first of all, we have to attract students towards us.
Primary teacher Poonam starts her lessons with a short story. It's effective and she doesn't need any special resources.
Slowly and gradually, they will be having attraction towards and to listen. This will improve their listening skill. They will be catching our words daily. 2 or 5 words, new words should be given to students, new words with simple meanings.
To prepare her students, Poonam introduces new words a few at a time and then goes on to tell her story. What kind of stories does she tell?
Sometimes I give them my own experience. I tell them short stories, morals which are based on moral and according to my own personal experience.
She shares her experience with her young students every day. These examples show how teachers can introduce listening in a natural way. They want to encourage their students to listen and also to speak in English about subjects that interest them. In this classroom, the students are working in pairs. I always try to make sure that there is plenty of speaking and listening in every lesson.
You're listening to Teaching English Radio India, a series for teachers of English, brought to you by the British Council.
Today, you're listening to a program about listening. We've heard some ways to increase the amount of listening to English in our classrooms, and that it's a skill that should be developed.
Listening is a very important part of learning. Without proper listening, a student cannot understand, and another thing is that there are different types of listening.
Shahira mentions different types of listening. What does she mean by that? This is Dina who will explain.
In order for the teacher to develop listening skills in her students, she should primarily focus on developing the sub-skills of listening. For example, listening for gist and listening for specific information.
It is important to prepare our students for a listening activity and give them some tasks to do. For example, if you have a title, you could ask them to guess or predict what the topic might include. And it is also a chance to pre-teach some vocabulary if needed. Now, Dina has mentioned that we can help students improve their listening skills by getting students to listen for gist and listen for specific information. What does this mean? Imagine that you have chosen a listening text. Well, a good way to organize this is to read or play the passage twice. The first time around, the students only need to get the gist of the passage, the general idea. This is because, in reality, we don't need to understand 100% of the words. The key is to understand the overall meaning.
For example, a listening for gist activity that I do with my learners is I might get them to listen to something, and they might be asked by the end of the listening activity whether what they were listening to had a happy ending or a sad ending. That would be an example of a listening for gist activity.
Once the students understand the gist of the passage, we can read or play it to them a second time, but now with a new task. This time, the students have to pick out specific information and we can ask more detailed questions.
To listen for specific information, they may listen to the same listening activity again and be asked to note down the names of the people who were in the activity that they heard.
Simple exercises for listening for specific information can be answering questions or completing a chart or a text by filling in the gaps. These are while listening activities. Let them compare their answers with other students. The important thing is you have given your students a task, a reason for listening. Students like to be active and to do something with the information they get from listening. After listening, you can have a follow-up task, using the information in some way. For example, completing the words of a song and singing it, or having a short discussion in groups, or writing some sentences about the topic. We've heard about some pre-listening activities like guessing the topic, some while listening activities like listening for gist or listening for specific information, and some post-listening activities for follow-up. Let your students listen at least twice and give them a chance to work out the meaning and discuss it themselves.
Not having access to a recording doesn't mean that you cannot teach the skill of listening by using some other means. Methods that teachers could use could be using their own voices to read a text from somewhere, or getting maybe another student to read and a class listening, or maybe bringing someone from outside, another teacher, to come in and take part in a listening activity.
We need to expose our students to a variety of texts. Use your own voice, but also try to expose students to other people's voices. Dina suggests that you invite other teachers or visitors to occasionally read or talk to your students. You might find a short audio clip from a radio program, a song, or record someone else reading a passage. If students like to hear and discuss the news, you may be able to use a radio in class, but another new idea is to use your mobile phone.
There are lots of materials now available which teachers can use on their mobile phones. They don't need any sophisticated technology to carry it into classrooms, and most mobile phones have good volume for the whole class to listen to.
Mala says that mobile phones can work as a way of recording and then playing materials in class. Could you try that in your school?
Channels like BBC, for example, have not just news broadcasts, but they have interviews, they have plays, which we can listen to. And there are websites which have transcripts available alongside listening.
Well, that sounds great. Remember, you can also find materials online for developing your own English too. Dina suggests that our students may also have opportunities at home to listen to English, so we can set them homework tasks to do this.
At home, to develop listening skills, students may have a variety of media to work with. They may be able to listen to television, they may be able to listen to radio, they may be even able to interact with somebody else who speaks English. So there are various things that students can use or listen to in order to develop the skill.
Before I go, here is one of my favorite fun activities for improving listening, sometimes called Describe and Draw. You may know it by another name. There are lots of different versions, but basically it involves talking about a picture